What's a man?
Hello, good evening, everybody. Chacha, if you just tune in, just remind you this is Voice of Radio in London. So proceed to do not Helibanjana, Nana Hemma. Right from the time until 7 o'clock. Many one be di agro na ya drink am. MCC ade enemy to see ha na uko pension ana. Ai ejuma de mi kodu baby na yesan aba befa ejuma no ye no se ne na because edu baby se ne be ya ebenya asem no ye nti na o say ye kọ na ekobo ye ho adwa na ye kọpepe nsem no wusumu ye we ne pim ye chi ne ba ye no ma ye pim ana ye pim no ne ye de mpa no. I'll take this opportunity Nama Church for especially if you tuning in for the first time. May you will fit and call beer if it's by chance. I'm not saying maybe Ryan you said there was a bridge. So what's your name in so awareness or so a special one. Into Freunia, Necashonia said, Nana Hemma for major. See, Omra, now and net as usual with the ensemble. And not a bit of form, and your mobile Juma and net Samiama Wafanaja Elfia. As the program progresses, Obet say Obayaya and so enka. Mr. No, baby, I will be a Michelle a Balam Villa all the way in Ghana. Me who say and chair across some name a year in near Bema DJ copy Nipa Power Cabe, say Balam Villa. More representing na Yadamunya Namase. Now this week a day now I see MPP gives 200,000 towards Otunfo to save Comfort Energy teaching hospital some fundraiser no AMPP 4 and Amasa Sikawe. Night now a woman sharing feels Otunfo demand accountability from all MPs. Free Kumase then Otunfo a percent or tre and as a day Otunfo say o demand the accountability. None in Tremu and is a bit of food in our see how Deputy Finance Minister allegedly chose the result of over budget defense. If we are your big court, now ye mamma Teresa for nay and a home since some announced any 50 money for night demonster. Now, when a year Nasan, someone when we papa Kennedy Japan, right before say, baby, or primaries, it is the key word that the apostle a showdown. Now, whenever military say, I say, I'll say what showdown between Alan's team and MPP supported. Now, question na a year, Kwame Jomo Ebisan say, I'll say Alan Cash puzzle. A worry na say Alan Cash o free MPP mu a worry ma for Nana o si de a asem na if you also try a back I have of shidium a ye cocoa farmers almost more say about 1,000 cocoa farmers in shidium crack over on premium. na yɛnim sɛ ɛyɛ papa Bawumia sɛ ɔmode ade no ɛbɛhyehyɛɛ so no ɔno na MPPfoɔ agye no atom sɛ obɛdi MPPfoɔ anim na come 2024 yɛkɔto aba no ɔbɛyɛ na hwan koraa na ɔbɛyi no as ne vice president. Saa asɛm yi de nsɛm bebree ɛna aba medin bebree aba na ɛna abadwafoɔ yɛbɛfiifii mu de abɔbɔ mu na wo nso so woakyerɛ wo adwene na ɛhwɛ yɛfo sɛ ɔfata a ɔbɛtumi ama MPPfoɔ ɔma breki 8 no. Na yɛkɔ anim a ɔte gold for oil policy at risk of illicit financial flows. Na ɛfiri hɔ a yɛde wobɛkɔ Ghana sɛ mo a monim sisiaa no adeɛ baako a yɛgye tom paa yɛn ankasa yɛbibiduro. Abibiduro yɛ adeɛ bi a ɛboa paa ɛma yɛn nananom bra ne nnubuna ne ahahan ne dunsinom no ɛna na yɛn nananom mansa na abɛɛfo bɛbɛn na ɔmode sa yɛn yareɛ na nhwehwɛmu ama aba sɛ saa kwan a ɔmofa so no ɛdi yɛn kidney ɛne yɛn internal organs ɛnya saa asɛm yi wogye to mu anaasɛ wogye to mu ɛna abadwafoɔ yɛbɛtwitwi mu ne abo. Enti without much I do no ɛma Samiama akyea abusuafoɔ na kyerɛ sɛ yɛde nkɔmmɔ no ahyehyɛ so a ne saa. Enti mɛma Sami akyea yɛn. Sami, good evening.
Good evening, Nana.
Na wo ho ɛte sɛn?
I'm here.
Na ɛnɛ yi deɛ ɛnyɛ easy koraa o. O dressing yi menim baabi a ɛnɛ is it a special location bi ɛrekɔ so anaa?
Oh, they say I'm a English.
Say I'm not dressing. Mentaa who say me say me share that.
What do you think?
Oh, you looking. Who say the entire make us an occasion. Who say you ma military is akofo.
Yeah.
Na yi you know. Ne kwesi ada na ye ne na ase asori. Nti na me say bi a.
It's nothing to do with that crap.
Oh, nti wan kɔ na ase asori ni bi.
And rather me say, omo ye come in impose ye do.
Nti me say odi kwesi ada na black and white. Nti na me say bi a ye ni nti na.
No.
Yes,
Yeah, I feel say no. I need to go very, very deep with the tradition.
Hey, sir.
Yeah. So after I never into a chance here.
Not so. Why?
Come on.
Ɛfata wo.
Very much.
Ɛfata wo paa.
Appreciate that.
Nti ɛtiefoɔ ne ahwɛfoɔ sɛ woyɛ adwuma na sɛ wopam atare a sɛ wotumi pam bi ɛma Samiama a obetumi aba bɛhyɛ atena radio yi so na kyerɛ sɛ yɛbɔ wo dwa no ho dwa adwuma no yɛbɔ ho dawura no nti sɛ wopɛ sɛ ebi a wo nso wopam ntare sɛ na woayɛ kama yɛ a wotumi ɛpam bi na yɛ sɛ wode abɛhyɛ no na wahyɛ na wode abɛtena radio so na yɛdi wo dwa no nso w'adwuma no yɛdi ho dwa de ama wo. Now how's your week been?
Yes, it's been a bit of stage up and down, going and coming. Mainly just work, really. It's not like any special things. But yes, yeah, we have lives, so we have that's the thing. So we are grateful, for still being here, having family, friends, seeing your kids. So, Charlie, and Rabbi called past the was it yesterday? I think it was Friday. And then, I mean, people were so people having fun, go for energy, and I was like, yeah, you should be happy because sometimes we take things for granted, don't we? And we end up in gathering programs, and you see, life is very short. So it's yeah, it's good. It's good. So I would say it has been great.
Yeah, now I know that
How about you?
yeah, now
Yeah.
I think for me, gym kakra for some time,
Rest.
holiday
Oh,
rest
right.
yeah, gym kakra for the past few days because now I get a bit of brain dose.
Mm,
Nti it's good sɛ na me afei metena ase no
yeah,
na mekɔ mayɛ confused
yeah,
and
yeah.
then ɛkɔ so yi we are not used to I'm not used to say
So
wobɛ
now we don't
stopping
give ourselves the chance to
yeah
actually, because sometimes you need to stop,
mm,
rewind, and then sort of revitalize yourself. Because the emotional pain is actually one of the deepest roots of cause of stress.
mm,
Because you get drained too much. And it's not a physical aspect of it. The physical is more of an exercise thing, but it is things that goes through the mental aspect of it.
mm,
And sometimes you just need to, you just need to stop and chill down, and maybe you can chill out rather, and then reset, rewind, recoup again.
mm,
Then you
mm,
start all over again.
yeah,
The essence of holidays. Unfortunately, the way we need to be enjoying our holidays, we don't seem
mm.
to do that as we should probably be doing. It's going to be, we just going to be, and I know, like I said, yes, holidays. That this island, that I wish I can go. Anyway, there's Greece just around the corner. So I hear Greece is nice.
Yeah,
You know,
sika no deɛ sɛ wowɔ bi a even baabi a ɛte koraa mpo no wowɔ
yeah.
sika a because obi tu kwan ba baabi a ɛti bɛgye n'ani
Oh yeah,
sometimes
yeah,
we
yeah,
don't
yeah.
even explore
But it doesn't cost a lot, man.
yeah
Honestly, to travel into Europe,
yeah that's what I'm saying
yeah.
sɛ
I think sometimes we just overlook these things. When you're on holiday to spend some few pounds and do that trip, and even if it's a week, see other places now. We hardly do that, to be honest. I
mm,
mean, that
mm,
I do small here and there,
mm, mm.
but like because it costs a lot of money to go to travel to Ghana
Oh
for
yeah
holiday.
sɛ yɛni plan nti
Well, and yet flights, like I said, I would say, and should bad, bad. But
ɛsi
I think
adeɛ ne sika ne
the,
bɔ ayɛ
the
den
rest of it that comes with it.
sɛ
Because it was really
abusuafoɔ
good,
no
and then
woba
empty-handed.
nsa sɛ wo nsa du
Uh, I guess maybe if you become very regular,
Mm,
idea Utarako very often, and maybe people get used to the idea, say, but just like you. I know people that actually go to Ghana like maybe once, at least twice a year.
mm,
It'd be nice, but it's a lot of money.
it is
So maybe we probably have to think about small places, not small places, but places within, in Europe, and then maybe make some of the journeys there.
yeah I think that that's one
Wind,
thing
wind down. I,
yeah before no we need to look into it because sometimes if we say unso wotu kwan a yɛsi kɔ
mm,
na kɔpɛ sika brɛ fie
yeah,
nti yɛba we work our strength our energy out
yeah.
and we don't
But if
actually
you're never hearing,
take rest
if
exactly
where is the fear?
yeah
Fear is where you live, isn't it?
yeah to make it home but
I mean,
sɛ bia sɛ wa onim fie no
yeah,
ebia na abusua no woba
yeah.
no koraa mpo no abusua bi agyapadeɛ bi na yɛkɔtɔɔeɛ ɛna ɛde sponsor a wɔma a wode
But then
baeɛ
that is an extreme situations that definitely you have to also support and help.
Mhm,
But you can't put your life on hold forever. Now, it's all you do is basically work and support. At a point in time, you have to, think about also like, so. But it's hard. And it's not an easy
it
thing.
is
It's
true however
a
no
lot.
I think sɛ a lot of sebi yɛn nuanom a wɔdii kan no I think majority of them no
Mm,
ebia ɔba especially if sɛ ɔno na ɛyɛ first person a wa travel overseas
mm,
as much as possible pɛ sɛ ɔnyɛ abusua no the narrative no ɛnsesa kakra
yeah,
nti ɔyɛ adwuma na ɔkɔfa obi aba
which
na
is great.
na ɔno nso ayɛ adwuma and sometimes nipa no ba no bɛboa wo a fair enough sɛ
Mm,
bi nipa no ba a ɔsɛ okay nyɛ hwee
yeah.
now woanhwɛ yi a your whole time no by the time you want to rest no now you
I
are
think
in the
really
old
nice
age
about balance.
mm.
You need to try to get a balance where you can do both.
Mm. Oh yes
And balance it in a way where, because I mean, what's the point in you sacrificing to the point where it affects you not even only mentally, it affects you, physically. You feel exhausted, tired, and weak. and then before you realize your life is really shortened as a result. So to get a balance right, which is not an easy thing, by the way, but I think it's something that you say, oh yeah, conscious support, say, this is how I want to approach it. I know it's easy said,
Mm.
but it's tough. It's tough, yeah, it is tough.
Yo, wait there, it's here for so when you quite be a offer so edge of home I think it's say a seniors in any power consume. I'm not also only a share na it's here for you now so ATB. Be there is a nice package with me. I introduce you especially union omo wa kwento omo UK and as US and as a baby be all be and so that people will know the essence of rest. Um, it's just a lot of people know say, oh yeah, but majority of the time we struggle. Say you be sad at the end.
Mm.
You're moving on to one story, and it's that say because of black and white. Washing, I
Mm.
am mommy, a first lady, a
Yeah.
Teresa Adokufo, Teresa Teresa Kufuor sɛ ne nkyɛn na yɛte sɛ 1st October yɛma me ɔda ne benkum so for after illness.
Mm.
Em sɛ last this week here yɛdeda no state one of the state house ma mpanyinfoɔ kɔhwɛ n'ani akyi twa agyaadwoɔ. I watched some of the videos and for the first time I think that when President yɛdeda Rollins, former
Mm.
President Rollins, in
Yeah.
Nimba,
Mm.
Yadida, Young Papa Mills, in
Mm.
Nimba. But where I could hear for the first time say, I'm more respecting my man, even though it was an open coffin, no, to see say that protocol no was really observed the Nimamba and oh share it, Omoko Hoku Jamia Mami, and I just say any kind a celebration of life. But in your own way, then I would declare your mommy, Teresa.
Not to be honest, she wasn't really on the front foot of. I mean, because she took over the first leadership in a way when Nana Hemma, in the end, she lost power, and then her style of first leadership was totally different. She
Different.
wasn't very political,
Mm-hmm.
like the way Nana Hemma was, embedded within the
And
NDC,
yeah, they say,
because the role that Hemma played. Looking at the women being part of, the party to ensure the party, is sustainable with women and the projects that she embarked on. So that legacy that Nakoyedu had, was totally different. Because when Teresa Kufuor was first lady, she more like a backfoot
laid
sort of,
back. Mhm.
I guess it's a different times because the dispensation around Queen at the time, was very revolutionary in nature, and therefore, you need that support for the revolution to stand. So she played much more active role in the Rawlings presidency. Well, Teresa wasn't like that, of course, but she had things that
Her
she
own
did
career.
well,
Mhm.
in terms of being a first lady, the
Mhm.
things that she did. So she did support the president in as much so many ways. But I didn't see her, that strong, and she doesn't have to be strong. I'm not saying that as a criticism, in that sense. What I'm basically portraying is although Rain was slightly very different. And therefore, there's not a lot that I remember her of that I can, say so much about. But obviously, or no, that tells you, how she wanted first leadership to be. Perhaps maybe she didn't want to project herself. She wanted the president to be the one that should be, to be seen and heard. So maybe that could be part of, her personality might try to probably different. So she's more very much of very calm, in nature, I mean, I don't know her personally, but I'm just saying from my observation and things that I've seen. So that is how I remember her. I can't think of things that I can say, for sure. Because if I'm talking about Nana this year, and everyone wants to speak about Nana the
Mm.
first, the
The
first
first
December Women's Movement, and there is that iconic
impact,
things that
girl child
yeah. So
education.
so much, but Teresa carried on a lot of those sort of things. She did. Uh, but it's just the dynamics, is different because we're in a dispensation of more democratic sort of leadership. Of course, there is that transition from the revolution into democracy, but you see that 20 years of leadership from the first ladyship of and then 8 years of her leadership, and there were total two different dispensations. So I wouldn't, I don't have much that I can remember her of, and then again, it's not like I'm criticizing her in any way. It's just there is that two different things. So for me, that is mainly. But to go back to the point that losing a first lady, of course, usually, we know it's not like this is something that happens all the time, but we know, say, most of the time it's the men that leave,
Mm-hmm.
and then the women are actually stay. Because like if you look at Mills,
Mm-hmm.
Rollins is gone, Mills is gone,
Yeah.
even the former first lady,
Mm-hmm.
sorry, vice president, Emita Asa,
Mm-hmm.
Emita Ata, who also died,
Mm-hmm.
and the wife is there. So usually the trend was like the men actually die
Mm-hmm.
than the women.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a break of what I would probably say the convention actually is. So it's it's a sad thing to lose the first lady. I don't remember losing it. That I can remember any time that we've lost any first lady in this. We haven't, because she is the first lady that has died, isn't it? In our times when the Fourth Republic constitution, even what did Nkrumah's wife? She's still
Fatia.
Pate.
But yeah,
Pate hasn't
I
died
think
yet.
I'm not followed that properly,
I'm
but
trying to
I
remember.
don't know. I
Or
can't
or she
reconnect.
died and they brought her to the Nkrumah Museum.
No, Patia is not
No,
there. It's
Pate.
still in coma at the moment, to the best of my
Yeah,
knowledge.
I'm
Yeah.
trying to
Yeah.
remember. So I mean, I don't remember any time that we've had any first lady that has died. So it's a unique place, to be sort of. For us to have a first lady that has died, and therefore, the funeral. I've seen some images of the funeral. I mean, there's that show of respect. And I like how they cover the coffin with the Ghana flag. It's very nationalistic, in nature. Some of the photos that I've
States.
seen. I haven't seen the whole program itself, but some of the photos that I've seen, I mean, you have a lot of people, everyone from different walks of life, from the political divide, or also being there. So it's a sad day. It reminds me of a video that I chanced on. Ex-President Kufuor was actually in tears, when she was he was, I should say, he was narrating the incident that led to if I remember, he saying that the Uber was basically that sort of thing. So it's sad. It's sad. It's sad, but this is life, isn't it?
You'll
Yeah.
go one day.
Mm.
Mami ma ima akwaba. Akwaba because yeti phone me. My phone so but whilst you do that, what do you remember about former
You might
first
even
lady?
idea about. I was thinking that's the first thing that you say.
Nana, but I say, I'm a tip in Ajo. I'm say, me name says, Nana, o share her. Same, yeah, I ye kakra. Or person chime by force. Something can change say,
No, ever.
ne why fe. And some I'm in person can because of no competition.
Hey, that.
Samia told this local copy biaba.
That.
Seriously, because I am a pa. I'm afraid when you know I really yeah. Benjamin Tarty nyadi akona niminti. In person make us but that's fine. Nana, I'm say for you the most important. The week has been good. Nyame adom kakra kakra ko yanim. Is the most important thing. On what you just touched on, yeah, my me, about Penny, Teresa Kufuor, Nyame mfa the currency, say, this story says, I mean, a kind of very important thing about her. And what is that? She was the most quietest among the so-called first ladies we have all seen in Ghana. There's one thing, a big time here, and you didn't get, never me. But if you say no, papa na chidom efa, and I na chidom efa could be a factor. And I think when I read the tribute from the husband, no, you could see, say, as quiet as we saw her, no, the man only knows the power he was giving him from the engine room, yeah, from the presidency, the peace he gave him, the collaboration, the endorsement of whatever he wanted to do near the end, were so much for, I'll call sort of a second leader. You have the vice president though, but vice president in his house or whatever, in your house, you are only with your wife or husband, and that is what I see of about Penny Teresa Kufuor. And it's been great. I'm saying so far, the funeral has been wonderful. It's been great. Except say I also chance on a bit of a negative year. I don't know how true it is, but social media can be anything. Between let me say Baumia supporters and then Alan supporters, right. It is the only thing I saw. I don't know if you say, oh no, it wasn't the best because it has been great so far until this one came up. Everything has been positive. The nationalistic nature. I mean, somebody like Park with Syndrome flying all the way from the US to attend the funeral or whatever. It was beautiful and it's been great. That woman has played her role for the country Ghana. And says Samia Kaino, young outside, but she operated from inside. And I think from the husband's perspective, no, she was such a great woman to be with.
And the kids as well. I don't know whether you read the tribute for the kids.
For the children.
Even mango do you have to ask permission, and the mango belongs to her. So she managed. She was a good manager.
She was a good manager, and they were talking about when she Kufuor was in prison, taking the children to the you can see that's a bold woman, but quietly it doesn't make noise. But that's what she has to do well, and that's the fantastic nature of kind of leadership. Not and yet so show off kind of thing. And I believe we pray that the good Lord keeps her so. And then I think many up and coming first ladies may learn from her. It's not just a show off to the public or whatever, but the way you are able to sometimes advise your husband or whatever in the quiet near the goes a long way also to help the nation. Though they might not see you as fronting a lot of things, no. These are some of the things I mean if you say my man Ama or my Ghana in the quiet. I'll add that again in the quiet. But all that said and done, no, I think nationally we have done well as a country to give her the best of respect as a first lady. And I pray that saw ex-president Kufuor Munso for a little longer to be an advisor onto the nation.
Yo, it's here for you better was say mommy the makani yeah tin na no nsem bebre. It's very difficult. So be when you pour I could count how many times I am makeup. Very, very laid back. So when I see a very natural beauty woman, or yeah, very laid back. Or to say be yeah, mamma, no, when is oh mamma, winning you fee. Bisa I get say involved too much. Political front. Ujaima, like you said, a good manager or manage BPA, fee and send kɔfoɔ bɛyɛɛ no yɛbɛtumi aka sɛ in a way no yɛbɔ kɔfoɔ aba so a na kyerɛ sɛ yɛbɔ yɛ maame nso aba so wɔ n'adwuma pa a wobɛdii nti Ghanafoɔ nyinaa ɛda no ase adwuma pa a ɔbɛyɛɛ ne examples a ɔbɛyii ɛma wɔde ato hɔ asɛ nhwɛsodeɛ a nkyirima nso bɛhwɛ so aka. I'm sure sɛ her name will go in the book of history sɛ nkyirima nso bɛkae no. Now still on the power no. Said for some time now, another area I very interesting. Say Kumasi me say Mama Teresa you know. Say even those that or Abba Abba de nka fantini but of one half but omo ba Kumasi ebe ya tumfo and mpanyinfo bebree ɛkɔ hɔnom even with the Thanksgiving no mo yɛ asɔre no nyinaa you could see it. Na yɛkɔ asante mu a na yɛnte nsi Otumfoɔ ahemfie. Ɛm sɛ for some time now wobɛka sɛ wei political show na adɛn na yɛde ahensɛm ɛbɛbrabra so yi. Adeɛ baako a for some time ɛkɔ so yɛn nyinaa nim sɛ for some time Otumfoɔ has been crunching on ahemfo nom a sɛbi ɔmo ɛnyɛ ɔmo asɛdeɛ a wotu ahemfofoɔ bebree. Na ɛm sɛ Otumfoɔ ɛnkyɛ ɔbaba abɛdi no aboakyerɛ. Na aboakyerɛ no one of the things a na ɔpɛ sɛ ɔyɛ yɛ sɛbi nkonnwa a ɛdedadeda hɔ
Otumfoɔ di aboakyerɛ anaasɛ obi?
ɛyɛ wohu sɛ ɛyɛ once wohu sɛ atwapemfoɔ di.
Yes.
Ɛnyɛ aboakyerɛ the atwapemfoɔ di no mpo odwira ɔbɛyɛ odwira rather ɔbɛyɛ odwira na odwira na ɔbɛyɛ no ɔpɛ sɛ nkonnwa a ɛdeda mpan nyinaa ɛyɛ na ɛsisi ahemfofoɔ no na sɛdeɛ ɛbɛyɛ a ɔyɛ odwira no a ayɛ kama. Na one of the prominent area yɛn nyinaa yɛnim ɛyɛ ɔfen so. I'm sure sɛ yɛn nyinaa yɛnim sɛ ɔfen so deɛ ɛyɛ wontumi nka asɛm a ɔfen so nka ho. Na nsɛnsɛm a kɔ so ɔsɛ Otumfoɔ affirms rejection of KK Sapon issue fresh order on Ofeso stew. My main kind of consider Asante Otumfoɔ Osei Tutu has served notice of his intention to resolve all matters around the selection of a new Ofenso in 1 month, addressing chiefs and elders of Ofenso at his court on Monday, November the 8th. Otumfoɔ, whilst asserting his authority on the matter, emphasized his rejection of the nomination of the former chief executive officer of the Ghana National Petroleum Commission, Dr. KK Sapon. The nomination was put forward by the Queen Mother of Ofenso, Nana Hemma Nyako, and her elders. There is no stool in Ashanti that is not under my power. When I have been reincarnated in Osei Tutu, founder of the Asante Hene. How did I end up with Osei Tutu as my stool name? How did Osei Tutu give me his name whilst I was ascending the throne? To be careful in all your dealing. If it remains that we choose from the Ashram family, we can still find a pure royal to install. If you line up all the perspectives here and they claim to be from the Ashram family, but are not descendants of the woman who have no cause placed on them. No case placed on them. If you are also rightful descendants, let me know and decide because I know everything and I have all the records. Otumfuo stated, whilst asserting the fidelity of the truth and tradition that Asante directed all prospective royals of Ofenso and the people who are meant who could be there say omunko chusu na menim say asemi mwedi ichira mema little summary of it kakra em say ohima no ni penifo ya ni certificate upon waye bi ama Ofenso man if when it comes to mpuntujuma mmaburu no ne nyinaa no support no So ɔhemaa ne ne mpanimfoɔ bi kɔtena ase ɛna wɔde ne kɔhyia ɔyɛ otumfoɔ so otumfoɔ sɛ dabi wei deɛ ɛnyɛ hɔ na wotee saa nsɛm yi menim sɛ weyɛ political show dɛn na menim sɛ woafollow story no where do you see Asante Hene? Where do you see the power? And Mebuno no so or democracy. Do we have to even go with this tradition? And I says, yeah, we are still calling just see a quiet not yeah, my no. Yeah, I bet it's fit for purpose. Do you think that we even have to go into it? Because Mebuno say, you get upon. Obey to me, see a man opportunity now. Obey to me, be ama a chrono a be office will be. Um, do you think it's not that the right way to go and answer your tradition? Sammy, my
Yeah,
member
let me
also.
just say. Well, I mean, tradition is culture is an identity of where or who you are. So you can't. I mean, have people within a community who has no tradition, who has no culture. So those aspects need there. I mean, tradition is very important. I mean, it defines, historically, where ancestrally you also came from and things that, I mean, I always do have that belief, say, mod- uh, modernization, globalization can still blend with tradition, with culture. It doesn't mean, you can overlook things because suddenly you've enlightened yourself. But the enlightenment that you have can actually enhance the culture and the tradition that you have to make it, much more better in terms of the practice of it. Of course, there might be some things within tradition and culture that it might need to, be step aside. Uh, but with this specific one, it's quite clear. I mean, the issues regarding the rulership, chieftaincy, paramountcy, we know say it does lie in the paramount chief, which is the Otumfo, and therefore there are certain steps that need to be taken. I'm not very familiar with the Ashanti tradition per se, but I mean, you could clearly see that there are some traditions which are in a way very very similar in nature, whether it's a Ghana tradition. There are things about kinship and who the secession in that now is there's that clear path that needs to be taken as to who inherits and who that. So all of those things are very historically documented. But now with this specific and before I actually touch on this with it, there has been quite recently and I don't know whether social media has added to these encounters that I've seen. There has been so many times that I've seen videos on the way adjudication in Menchia and how the Otumfo sits on cases and how he adjudicates those cases surrounded by council of elders and people around him. And the beauty of it is that it kind of gives you the historical perspective of how our forefathers, have been, because those times we didn't have those sort of the judicial system like the way the democracy works right now, where there is a court and that the court, the chieftaincy has its own adjudication and the way they sit on cases and the adjudicate. So that portion is you could see that embodiment of that. All the traditional rulers, very very similar to what is happening that I'm seeing. Go through something very, very similar, in terms of the education. So it's nice for me seeing those things, it creates a lot of interest in trying to understand tradition and know a bit of the customs and things that we do practice. But there is a lot of these videos that I'm seeing now, and I'm not sure whether it is because Otunfo is imposing himself more now on things which perhaps he might be considering, say, they're not being done the right way. Or it is that these are been happening already, but it's now that social media is making it much more prevalent for us to see that. This specific case, there are five things which I read, which has been mentioned in here, which for me is where the whole issue comes from. And I don't know whether satisfaction of one of them will qualify because there might be one satisfaction or two or four satisfaction, but there's one of them. And then I'm with your permission, I'm kind what I mean the report, what they said Otumfo has mentioned as the five main reasons why the rejection of Dr. Kege Sapon happened. And see, the one who nominated, there is a curse on that family, so that family cannot do a nomination. So that curse needs to be lifted. Now, with things like that, I suspect that there is some sort of tradition that have to follow. There's some sort of custom that has to be done for that curse to be lifted. So that for me is actually quite easy. I would say if the processes are followed as they should. So that probably shouldn't be a problem. Uh, and then I'll leave the second one and I'll look at the third one. They fail to consider other persons who have rights to the offensive land. And then they should have presented their thoughts about nominating him, KK Sapon, as a candidate before him, Otumfuo, and ask for his permission. So, of course, again, this can also be resolved if they go back to do the right thing. And five, due process wasn't followed by the family heads and Queen Mother for the selection. And again, due process can be re-followed if they go back, because two them to go back. But where I see as the biggest problem of this whole saga is the second point. Some family heads had reported to him for that the name KK Sapon presented to the Queen Mother for nomination as chief was not a royal. So if indeed Otumfuo has had that information, say it's not royal, and Otumfuo can actually, obviously, there will be that investigation to see whether he has that sort of leniency to become royal. I think that is the biggest challenge for Dr. KK Sapon, because the rest of it now, it is things that can be resolved. But if you're not a royal, the provincial chieftaincy, you can't buy these things with richness. If you have money, doesn't mean you can actually, because we know Dr. Kiki Sapon, he used to be a chief executive of the GMPs, so we know he's rich. He has done a lot of things for things who are here from the report. But the point is this: if it doesn't come from where the secession comes, can it be subsided and say, because of the other four factors, okay, the case has been lifted, so now the person can nominate you. The tradition has been followed. Everything that needs to be followed has been done. But then the biggest problem that is in your way is: are you a royal? Can you actually succeed? Can you be? So that for me is where the biggest problem is. Unless, of course, there's proof that for him to actually accept also to go ahead and do that, maybe he also has the strong belief that he's actually because in Ashanti it's through the maternal, isn't it? So maybe he believes in it. So it is an interesting one. I want to see how this specific case, how it will be adjudicated at the end.
I think Otumfuo, I've been following the story for some time now, and one of the things that Otumfuo kind of, I think, man, almost to be there, no, and I think so Otumfuo kind my family tree, and I'll say me, anwo mmiɛnsa na ɛwɔɔeɛ na mmienu ɔkyekyere mu a nti it looks as if sɛ ɔbaa baako ne mma adi adeɛ no for over 200 years. And the way it works is that sometimes we ma di a the next one no na we bedi, the next one na we bedi, but it look ya akɔyɛ sɛ baako ma na adi a nti saa bere no na yɛsi ahyerɛmfoɔ no, saa ahyerɛmfoɔ no is another baame baako ma a ɔno n'asefoɔ ne ahyerɛmfoɔ no ɔsɛ ɔmo nso no ɔmo nya chance na ɔmo nipa. Now the Queen Mother now ɔte so sisi is from saa the same tree now ɔhene yi a yɛpɛ sɛ KKD yɛpɛ sɛ yɛma no kɔdi nti ɔne ne n'ahemfo no mu binom no ɛna ɛyie no kɔkyerɛ na yɛsi anom bosom sounds because wei agu mo so that's the case na wɔka ɛho asɛm na ɔtomfoɔ si yie nti ɛno kɔ odi adeɛ no bia ɛnyɛ yie nti sɛ wohyɛ mu a pasɛ wotie Otumfuo nsɛm sɛna na ɔkasa no a ɛyɛ Queen Mother no comes from the same kind of tree na papa mfiri mu no, but the respect ɛma saa maame because na hindi no is the same as Mami Efia could be nearby Otumfo Mame. Because of that, see, when Otumfo Mame was alive, not up there, sir, my friend so him some of friend near penny tia Otumfo craft friend aprewa with the respect. It is a yeshemu crampona. That means a can't akoka abekao abekoka mamia oyi. I think the what actually a mad yes the fact said mpanyinfoɔ no binom kɔyɛ press conference any youth no kɔyɛ press conference even there's been videos ɔmo akɔtwa dwan ne ɔmo akɔ whole lot of incantation ɛwɔ ɔfeet no mu na otumfoɔ sɛ panin sɛ baabi ɛde adeɛ wɔ no ɛna odi ɛnyɛ sɛ bi kɔmɔde no edi sɛ yɛka mu a ade hyeɛ like you said no ɛna also di I think say they presented about 17 nkurɔfoɔ a na ɔmbɛdi na candidate na yɛasɔ ne so a ma sisi a no yɛyi nkurɔfoɔ bi afiri mu yɛsɛ ɔmo deɛ ɔmo di bi yɛyɛ yie nti yɛsɛ obiara nkɔfa ne family tree mmra na wokyerɛ sɛ wodi bi yɛ ɛbɛyɛ yie a na I think sɛ ɔtumfoɔ scaling it down to maybe 5 or 4 then no ɔde ama mo sɛ afei monkɔ na monkɔ yi deɛ ɔyɛ mo hene na momfa mmra. Do you find this interesting or do you think there's a long way? Let's go to the 21st century, you must go through that.
Nana, let me say, this is a very interesting conundrum for, what I'll call royalty, holistically. Nana, let me say, what's the history about even our UK here? Why we had the Queen Mother or the Queen who recently died to be the Queen? It was because somebody abdicated his rule to marry a foreigner, and in the end, it came to fall on this family. And for that reason, this family will have that seat forever. Take it or leave it. That's what it is. Because here, as said, in Charles, anywhere, we are going to get Prince William become the King William, all things being equal. So it's royal matters, yet more of the lineage, the blood lineage. The question I'll pose is, I'll just suppose that it. As we speak now, in Greater Accra region, that's the Ghana state, we have our own challenges with this kind of issues coming up. Which royal family is their turn to go? With the Ghana tradition, it's from a royal house. We have 4 royal houses where you choose the king from, the Ghana king. So if it goes to this royal house this season, when that person is no more, it goes to the next royal house. So it's up to that royal house to choose who they want to be their king. But that is the Ghana tradition. That's the point I want to make. The English tradition has been that it is the first child, right, of the king or whoever that will continue being until maybe, like I said, before the queen, the supposed king, who was supposed to be the king, abdicated. So tradition then came back that if you have abdicated, then your next whoever take it, and that lineage has now taken it forever. Until we also at a point, like as we say, we are having our own prince. What do you call him?
Charles.
Harry.
Prince William.
Harry. Abdicated.
He's now the 4th in command.
That's the point.
Good. He's forever going to remain the 4th in command because William has a son.
William has a son, so it would still go. But even if William hasn't got a son, William's daughter will still be the queen instead of the king. Exactly. Exactly. That's what it is. So the point I'm trying to draw what Johannes say, tradition is tradition. Me only a kakra me dwene sisi ya ne say over 200 years. Me nim traditional royalty no. Me nim rules aye to ho. Say and say bia anka we di for the first time next year and next season we go away never. You're talking of 200 years. I'm not an Ashanti.
The way Asante for the no is unse wo
exactly
a mommy and son man tikaweba dear na so ni ho na say bia wo paka be fa na the next one quite similar to Cry for Sana and Cry for but what happens is even sometimes no unse step a man ebia a ma miensa ebia ye miensa nyina ye ma na me badi na the following time no say ebia sameba na edi na sa at that time no sameba enyinru and na say oni qualities also oye ɔhene a ɔtena abɛɛnwa ne so no a mmara ho kwan mpanimfoɔ tumi tena ase na yɛtumi ayi obi foforɔ from memema mu
Or you're more befitting.
more befitting.
Right.
Because you need to, and you say, who say English, and I say, once I won, we say William, no, say, or yeah, why you so, even though say, bet you grooming, so befitting, no, as Santa for dear, no, you, and you may be a honor man, kawanki, kawi, to me, say, it be cry, onya, baka, me papa, but any example, and papa be dear, punya. Na or no enya ne papa ne maame abakan na ne nua penny wo hɔ but ɔmo hwehwɛ mu no ɛnam sɛ ne maame ne mma ne mma nana ebi wɔn so no na ɔmo fo sɛ me papa no ɛna na otumi di adwa na posua no nyinaa tena ase dwene ho sɛ ɔno na otumi di akonnwa no ma ne yie but ɔmo ama ne nua panyin na ɛni nti it's a bit kind of
Dicey.
different
That's
kakra yeah.
Yeah, it's from where I'm coming from. That is where my concern is. So, money a bit difficult because the point is like, okay, the question family tree, you know, this other woman, other two women, also qualify. Almost wow for about 200 years. Now, 200 years. The question you ask yourself is, the previous two, four, I've seen within the 200 years. No, why did any of them look at this? You see, there's what we call custom and there is a rule. So has it about customer? Yes, I didn't say aka. That's the difficulty here.
The way my member mu kakra ne sɛ otumfoɔ ɛnsi hene
Right.
otumfoɔ no nti abusuafoɔ no motena ase na maka sɛ wei ɛne ɛpɛ sɛ odi yɛ so anaasɛ ɔyɛ yɛ hene na mode no abɛkyea otumfoɔ endorses sɛ nipa no ɛwɔ royalty no mu a na nipa no abɛsuae akyerɛ otumfoɔ nti osuae kyerɛ otumfoɔ that is the legal seal kyerɛ sɛ but nye otumfoɔ na ɛbɛka sɛ wei ɛna ɛbɛdi ɔhene anaasɛ wei na ɛbɛdi ɔhene even though he's got the power to say sɛ mempɛ nipa wei otumfoɔ no is their responsibility to make sure sɛ royal ɛna ɛdi na deɛ kɔmmɔde no.
Good. Nana, back to this point, Sami. So then we go to Sami. That is the key factor. All the other four factors there, to me, they are not that strange or difficult to manage at all. But as to his royalty, as to his lineage, as to what the culture of the Finnish people is the most important thing. And like we just mentioned, if I could quote you right, what can I say? It's the pupil, the family, the traditional people within the community or the township or whatever it is. So, and it's
the royalty
did exactly in American. So when they decide that, then they come near the private show 2-4, no 2-4, just like you said, let's call it royal seal. Oh, my Majiwatu, and then the person becomes part of Ashanti Kingdom. I think that is the right way to use.
Yeah, already
part of the Ashanti Kingdom. Yeah, I mean the true Ashanti Kingdom as a chief now, or whatever you call the person. But my point across me when I say, if these same people, how come this one became the queen mother, right? My fear could be our cancer way. She is the queen mother. When you're royal, and she shouldn't have been the queen mother for all this long. That's right. This year, no, or no, and it's and on the KK sapon. I don't want us to go to the money side of it. I want us to look at the blood.
Yeah.
Royalty has to do with blood. It's not the money, right? So, mommy, find that on the first day or him. Obey or him, I asked for all this water, so I have blue. Nasa or him, idea. I think she may have some knowledge of the systems. In fact, there could be corruption. Let me put it this way. In fact, Gans are still fighting chieftaincy as we speak with the Gans within the Gans state because of same money. That's Africa. Corruption is there. But I am thinking, say, the point I'm holding that out of the 5 points that they are banned, the only thing is KK Sapon truly a royal? If he is not, then my next question goes to, is the Mamia Fiakubi, right, a royal? Is she the true queen mother of the place? And what knowledge has she got? Nana Sewa, okay, fine. What is her true identity as a royal within the royal family of Ofenso? And I think that is where, probably, I don't know, but probably it may get to a point, it may get to court to determine who is the true royal or the offenses too. Because I don't think Otunfo has that power to determine. I don't think so. What I know Ghanaian law. No. He is the king of the Ashantis. But I think when it comes to the National House of Chiefs, no, right? He cannot determine totally. He may go to court. It's where
I see the point you make. You okay? So you make it a point say when it comes to because the constitution supersedes
Otunfo. That's the point I'm trying to make. Exactly.
In a way, no matter how much powerful
exactly,
it still has to
get to a point. They may go to court.
So they might decide. They says okay, despite what Otunfo says, I want to be independent. You know, it is a court. And therefore, the court has to sit on the case.
Most likely, in my view, that may happen.
It will be interesting to see.
Very, very interesting. Because still, as we speak, people of offense want KK support.
I think
probably because of maybe a Moa or the Abua and whatever. I will scan your idea. It's beautiful. I don't have anything against that. But if it's not a true royal, money should not buy the royalty. Right.
I think at the moment, from the last way, he's actually out of the case at the moment. KK Sapon is completely out. Sisi Omenya, Otunfo, about 17 candidates. I'm free stream. Ashram is a people they haven't had the opportunity for over 200 years. Yes, say omunko no biankufa ne family tree embra or the family tree ne bar no ma be presenting. Now watch say out of that they scale it down. Now for their mom say nipa nine we say munko na munko yidi mufo say di anasa munko na munko out of yes they are worthy is worthy munko na munko yidi pano. I think what Otunfo is trying to do is to make sure that the or yet maybe our medino this time go for so anything because you to me mama me pa kwam Emma emedi or say to me Emma ebusua aka no omo so ebedi that is where Otunfo is trying to work at. It will be interesting.
No, it will be interesting because you are just telling me say KK Sapon is out. KK Sapon will be out only if he says I am totally out. I don't want anymore.
KK Sapon
because if only we are going based on the Otunfo Akana, KK Sapon is not out.
But
if may end up court.
But if KK Sapon himself cannot take this case to court, he has to come from
the traditional council
of who is the
offensive traditional council, but the offensive traditional council
KK Sapon is
an individual.
He's just an individual.
The
so
offensive
he
traditional council, there is a division there.
Yeah.
But because the Queen Mother, it has some authority, and to onu na present enya ahemfo nye traditional council ni nyina na that's why asem no eba Otunfo ahemfie and almost say KK Sapon mo ya no then sa egu
yeah, Nana, I understand you, but let me tell you something. Culturally in Ghana, right? Culturally, in Ashanti, because it's a matrilineal lineage, usually the queen, the chief or king is appointed by the Oba Hemma. Usually, that's their tradition. So Oba Hemma will know more, and therefore, what I'm saying is KK Sapon can influence Oba Hemma because traditionally she is the Oba Hemma.
Yeah, but the point I'm making is
it's not the old traditional council. No, it's not the old traditional. That's council.
It's different.
Yeah. If the nominating the right to nominate,
right?
Because there is someone who has the right to do the
nomination, right?
So there will be that person will be part of that traditional council.
That's
so
right.
The point I'm making is as an individual, KK Sapon is nobody as we speak.
Definitely, because he's not part of anything.
If they want to say, okay, this is the nomination, we're going to stick with the nomination. We're going to take it further. Now it has to come from that
royalty,
correct?
And that's why I'm saying the Queen Mother is there.
Yeah.
She nominated the KK Sapon.
You know what?
So KK Sapon can influence her.
I don't think
that.
I don't think that is something that they really going to do.
It's a conditional
because you see, the problem with this is that because the sort of authority that Otunfo carries in terms of the respect and the traditionally, the kingdom, the Ashanti region, and the sort of the aura that comes with
Sort of
it,
kingdom, right?
and that respect that he has. No traditional that rule, traditional council that is under the paramountcy will want to do something that will go against what the paramountcy actually wants, and therefore, because if you go and even win the case in court,
let me
Is
interject
it
here.
no?
you
Let
know,
me
There's a
interject
point
here.
here. Okay, go
Let
ahead.
me inter Otumfo, even though Otumfo na on yi, and yes on to me on yi, but say offense to me the obiba na nipa kro no can wa bia ni ne ho. Nipa kro no your royal. Otumfo has got the power. Ohwe nipa na nim no ka se bi. Wo ho nya me fe. Me pese obetena ma hin
no,
bia.
we,
Otumfo has got the power to say no,
we agree to
and
all of that.
that is final.
But that's the point that we make it. If the people say it's final,
Mhm.
and the nominating traditional council say no, this is the person that we want.
Then
That
end
you
up in
say,
court.
because the point I'm making is we the country has a constitution. The chieftaincy is mentioned in the constitution. In fact, Utumfo is mentioned in the constitution. So the point is can this be a situation where, and this is me, I'm talking out of total
Wow, yeah.
ignorance, and trying to think about it. Can there be a situation where Otumbo says no, they say
We are
we are
the
the and therefore we're not going to respect what you say, Otumbo, and therefore we
And the
want
last
the
resort is
law
court.
to basically declare or make
That,
that
that that
establishment.
that would be a
I don't
very
know
A
how.
very
interesting.
interesting case.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
in
That's the
this
point I'm
in this
making.
particular case,
Yeah.
Yeah.
within the tradition of the kingmakers, there is fashion, different fashion.
Yeah.
So there's not understanding of
As a who
as to the KKD issue, KK Sapon issue, it's not even Obiano pe KKD Sapon because
KK
encophobia KK Sapon, because encophobia full say also they are part of the royal and they've been sidelined.
Yeah.
Easy. Adeɛ no akɔ say a unified
and I think that's the biggest
It's
problem.
interesting. That's where the problem rather is.
But
So
I
the
should
other
think,
faction who maybe doesn't disagree will decide, okay, if that's what you say, I'm going to court as a final arbiter.
has that
Right,
been?
decide.
I'm trying to remember some time back, if I'm not wrong, the Ghana traditional council. I mean, these issues regarding who sits on the
And
Ghana
the king.
throne.
Yeah.
Did they go to court?
It has been to court, there has been decisions, and still seriously as we speak, within the Ghana tradition itself, you have a bit of an issue.
Yeah.
And that is what I'm trying to juxtapose out with the whole story. So it's not as straightforward because the court is the final arbiter, right? That will come if that is if. Don't forget, the youth and whatever in Offenso has gone on demonstrations, whatever, in support of KK Sapon. You call them youth, right? We shall call them youth. Maybe that's how it was reported. But don't forget, there could be that's fine. These are the issues I'm looking at. So
but now I don't know whether you feel now they've backed down.
Yes.
They
Oh, okay.
backed down.
Okay.
They backed down, and now I'll call Chajai. A Chajai, I call Atukusia, a go of face. I can't say to anybody or call Utumfo or J. Kekesapon, according to them, or J. Kekesapon Sika in support of
Is it
Bemano.
Mr. Tapabana or whoever who went to first place? Okay.
Almost Obia, or did they mention names? What they said was Obia or J. Kekesapon Sika. Emano, we say, obetumi edi and no call Otumfo no, omo dane omano. Now they're not blaming Otumfo, but they are blaming the people. Omajisika, and when they went to Otumfo no, they said something we know omo abodia.
Okay.
And so
That's
now no,
interesting.
it's a very dicey and interesting to know our tradition, and that is why I'm asking, do we really have to follow tradition and as if we are in 21st century?
Tradition
Because
No.
the reason here me kasa and me granting me chama no. When Otumfo tana so Otumfo chiami say we yen directly as Otumfo, you talk to Otumfo through the chiami. Oka say constitution ni ama on constitution say aban no obeto ye nananom. ina nanom na ɔmo kɔkɔɛ na ɔmo bɛgye yɛ because aban bɛbɛkɔ aban bɛba na and that is why ɔmo feel say the Ashanti kingdom or Ashanti hene na Benya ne man no is so power is not according to ɔmo is stronger. That's what they believe. They're stronger than what aban. It goes beyond politics. Nti say even say eyi krampo eba se asase we eba be we asase no eye ahemfo ne dea anasa yɛ asante hene asase nti sɛ ɔhene bi anasa ɔman mu mpanimfoɔ kasa ɔba baabi bi a they need to come and seek permission from the Ashantis before they can do
But you know,
anything.
a lot of
It is so with the
yeah,
whole
yeah,
Ghana. Lands are vested in families, traditional families and chiefs.
yeah,
That's why it is per the constitution. So that one I agree.
yeah.
But the point I'm looking at is, as much as the Otumfo is that powerful, right? There is going to be a point in our lives, whatever we take it. Don't forget, politics itself, as you say, or it's also a culture. In a way, you build it over years.
Yeah.
That what America has gone for over 200 years, UK has got over whatever number of years. So it is the same thing. In leader, it's all about leadership, the kingship, the whatever. I just say in politics, it's a matter of come with your policy and take you on. But when it comes to royalty, it has to do with blood, right? That's the difference between the two. So in the end, what I'm looking at is what I would say. Just looking at what I would say is say yes, our culture is what makes us who we are as Ghanaians. Otherwise, myself and yourself will be English, right? But it's our culture, right? Not the color, not whatever, but our culture. So what we believe in is what makes us. So I believe that it is good for us. Your question, it will be good for us to maintain our culture, but our culture should also be a dynamic culture. Don't forget, some time passed. Yeah, Bob, was it right? It was our culture. But was it right? Now, you need to kakra. We say, no, it's not right. To be, your friends say,
Dementia.
dementia, don't just say, before, no, but and all those kind of things. So, me feel say, we have to maintain our culture, but we have to make it dynamic and look for the best in the culture. Take them, and maybe the bad ones, take them out, and we can be able to build a better future for our country, Ghana, and I think all the paramounties or whatever that operate within the country. That is how I see it.
Yo, Madam Masi, and it's interesting saying, I hear so. Na adeɛ a Otumfoɔ na wɔtwe yi mu sɛ mɛbɔ ne mɛsummarize sɛ mo ara monim sɛ Komfa Anokye Teaching Hospital ɔse sisi a no ɔsɛ ɔma ayi no hospital no ɛfa ne ntoma pa fra nti na wɔtwe yi mu ɔmo bɔ dwa frɛfrɛ Ghanafoɔ mo a wɔn nsa wɔ bie so obiara mfa kakrakakra na Otumfoɔ no ankasa gyina te hɔ to n'anom hoo sɛ obiara kakrakakra bi a obiara bɛnya bi a ɔmfa mmra ɔmfa nkyekyere yɛmma Komfa Anokye ɛnya ne ntoma pa mfra because anyɛ bia no ɛno ara ne yɛayɛ deɛ nkɔnkɔnkɔnkɔnkɔnkɔ a ne nyinaa bɛwie Komfa Anokye MPP foɔ ɛbɛma a ɛdonate 200,000 towards the Komfa Anokye no. Na asɛm baako a Otumfoɔ ne kasa mu ɔkae ne sɛ ɔse all the ɔse politicians no ɔmo Kumasi a ɔmo firi Kumasi no nkra hɔ yɛ ɔmo da dodo so ɔmo fa ɔmo ani mmerɛ fie. Saa asɛm na ɔkae no wobɛtumi akyerɛkyerɛ mu kakra so wode w'adwe kakra bi ɛwura Otumfoɔ adwene mu a ɛdeɛn na Otumfoɔ ɛɛpa akyerɛ Sami?
I don't know, but I suspect it's so I don't think it's the physical presence in the king in Ashanti, but I think it's more of the worker maybe or expect to say in Budo. What did you know?
Mpotudwo.
The our expect to say should be because the MPP is the Ashanti is the stronghold of the New Patriotic Party, so the assumption is that there should be. I mean, it's shocking to see the state of Komfa Anokye, hospital because you would have thought. I mean, Kolebo is a nice thought to be honest, but it's one of those things that it shouldn't take Otumfuo to ask for donation from individuals. I mean, when they were doing this political leadership for choosing the candidates for the new patriotic party. Do you see the number of how much money they
Mhm,
spent?
mhm, mhm,
You saw that the money
mhm.
that they were giving out for free and the amount of money that they spent.
It's for power, not for free.
Yeah, but that's the point. The priority. So my suspicion is that what Otunfo was making reference to is not physically be there, but be there like DJ
Mm,
Juma.
mm,
That's
mhm.
that's how I understood it. And then he's right, because the people are saying Mama actually did more to the Ashanti region than the NPP has done. And you should probably guess. I mean, they are in power. Is where their powerhouse is, and they did less than they should be doing. So rightly so, the names should be called. They should be called out of their inadequacies on that. But you see, Nana, the Okonva-Iweala Hospital per se, I mean, I know it's under the jurisdiction of the Ministry of Health, uh, but the Otumfo Ankasa, the kingdom, I don't know how much wealth that the kingdom has, but I suspect that is one of the richest chieftaincy, not only in Ghana, but in perhaps some of the region in West Africa. The chieftains they has wealth, I think. I was just wondering, the legacy for the kingdom could have been one of those things. And I know, say, Otunfo has done. I remember when I was in university, there was this education
Educational
fund
fund, yeah.
that Otunfo set up. And some of us they were actually quite generous there. And then the guys were tapping into it. Most of the guys that came from the kingdom were tapping into it. And it's like, you don't belong to that church, so don't go even think about going to apply for it. And it was a joke of things that we did speak about. But the some of the legacy that in my view, that that kingdom could have brought for, maybe he wants to do some legacy for himself, is to give Confanochi as it is, in the hands of the Ministry of Health, put pressure on the politicians, but build a hospital. You
There
know,
is Mensia Hospital.
yeah, but it's
It's
not.
very
It's
small.
very
It's
small.
a,
You know the point I'm
It's
making.
more or less a
Yeah,
clinic.
it's a
it's more like
clinic, yeah.
So build something much wider. Otunfo, he lives here. He lived in this country
Mm-hmm.
for a very long time. He knows. So you can leave that sort of legacy. I would have actually wanted him to rather start something from scratch
But don't you
and
think
bring it
said
to the
that
standard where,
Confanoche,
yeah,
hospital
yeah,
itself has
yeah.
got a direct link to the Ashanti Kingdom, no?
Yeah, but
And hence,
it wasn't set up by. Correct me if I'm wrong. It was
no,
named after
it was
Confanoche.
named no,
Yeah,
for Confanoche, yeah.
correct. So the point I'm making is that the the legacy for the kingdom, with all its richness that it has, is to now. I mean, because Otuvo can see, what is happening in the health sector. So you want to navigate around the area where you want to put some impact on that. So maybe set up, something from scratch to the standard of what hospitals should look like. It's something similar to when they did the Legon one. The Mama administration did the Legon one, and the sort of things that they brought into the hospital. So I was thinking that would probably be, I mean, what he did needs, we need to, commend him for that. But maybe if that money has been channeled into a fund that will be set up and see how the fund is going to grow, and then build a proper, maybe teaching hospital in addition to what we already have, and leave the one to the government needs to put money in. They need to take responsibility. The funding that comes into how the health sector. Why is it that we have a hospital that cannot be
It's
put
not
yeah?
functioning.
Why must it have to be so too for her to solicit funding for things that needs to be done by government? you know. So I mean that is the small part that I think that maybe
But it's not the same at Kolebu.
Yeah,
Kolebu is
Kolibu is the
in
same.
a
Kolibu
very
is in a
bad
very
state
yeah, it
where
is the same.
people lie on the floor.
It is absolutely the
It's
same. But that's the point. It's a failure of governance, you know, and that is the point I'm making. But kudos to him. He is doing things the right way. I mean, I'm sure he probably have thought about what I'm saying, but maybe the capital is very capital intensive,
Intensive, yeah.
and maybe you can see the feasibility of having that done during his reign. Maybe it might work better
I
to
think
renovate.
he's built the housing. You know the total for I think is Swansea, Pramoichi,
Mm,
He's built kind of.
mm.
I don't know how affordable.
Estate,
Yeah,
estate
yeah,
government.
yeah.
Okay.
He's
How,
done
how, how much
housing.
he comes to the royals today? How much royals do they pay for the goldfields that they
I can't tell, but it's so much. It's so much
so,
because
so,
of the volume that come out.
yeah,
So
because I'm thinking
so
about
much.
how much money is channeled through.
Yeah.
I mean the uh, the royal house doesn't publish
No,
their
No,
financial
no, no, no,
statement
no,
for us
no.
to know how much money comes in. It will be interesting because I am thinking that there is money that
you're
that yeah.
thinking toward the 21st
Well,
century of the things that I
I mean,
talked about
but
last week.
the queen publishes the wealth of the king of the queen. Whatever they engage in, in the duchy original and duchy brand,
Organic.
they do publish
You
all of
see,
that. Then,
what Sammy is not realizing is even the government himself. What does he publish? The public who go
but
to campaign for power. What
I
does he
can't tell you
publish?
the department publishes the government account.
Where?
They do yearly. Papa, your friends, Papa na was Opamono. And you know, did
Eh?
any talk with the Epamono.
Some level. That's
Some level,
audit service. Audit
any
service.
service.
Let me tell you
Yeah,
something. Let
so
me tell you something.
yeah,
We are not talking of audit service, but we're talking of the government, the seat of government.
yeah. But
The
if
kind of service that
audit
go there
service
want
is
to see out
auditing,
there.
so shall we not have somebody that go
Then
and audit
you should be
the
able to
kingdom?
ask the
I
audit
mean,
service to audit
all these
the
kingdoms that
royalty
we
as
have.
well.
Yeah, I mean, they should publish how much money they get. Then we
No,
can.
we don't do that.
I know
Yeah,
it's not
yes,
that.
our ha.
Now,
Yes,
but
yeah,
mame call Ima ho. Ima,
no, no.
Otumfo, say, or say the politicians, say, now, only ye chi, Otumfo chi ame ma yeti as yet, aban beko aban beba, na, as Ashanti no, sustain even, government no. Um, na sɛnea wohwɛ Ashanti ɔmo history the way ɔmo koeɛ gyegye nsase ne wei ne how powerful a sɛbi Asantehene ɔyɛ mekaa sɛ tam a Nana Akubi ɛkaa baabi Otumfoɔ kasaeɛ one day pɛ the whole Kumasi obiara fa praeɛ de prae woduru Kumasi a kyerɛ sɛ na ɛɛfɛ koraa kɛkɛ sɛ Otumfoɔ kasa a sɛ ɛnnɛ obiara na a anomaa aba koraa mpo no wohu no wɔ abɔnten. Sisi a wɔse n'apamfo ane ne mma no ma ɔmakɔ into politics no ɔmomfa wɔn ani mmra na wɔbɛbɛ fie na nkran yɛ ɔmo dɛ dodo. Same si ɔno deɛ ɔfo sɛ ɛnyɛ sɛ na mmom ɔmo mmra na ɔmmɛsɔpɔte. Na sisi a no wohwɛ a Otumfoɔ yɛn nyinaa nim sɛ ɔrepo akɔmfo anɔkye ɛbɛboa. Definitely ɛbɛboa nipa bɛtie nkɔfoɔ adɔnɛti. But do we need Otumfoɔ to get involved? Ɛwɔ sɛbi ayaresa mu anaa?
Nana, medasi. Nana, me say, me name papa. Me fan same papa tia yeah. Na se bibi atu me nkoni yeah. Me a power an obligation. Say, obeye ama your friend is saying, me ho ato me. And on that basis, me believe say Otumfuo has all it takes in terms of unknown supervision. Say obeboa ama your friend saying Confanoche apostle ye. So Otumfuo has that passion to make sure say Confanoche ejina ne nine. So I agree. But there is another side to the coin. Confanoche enye Otumfuo bibi ewesi enye for the Ashanti Kingdom. Enye for Asante for enye for Ghana. Ɛna te sɛ deɛ yɛka no nyɛ otumfo na ɛsiiɛ ɛyɛ aban Ghana aban na ɛsiiɛ because now you run under a constitution and on that basis no meme fi sɛ aban ɛna ɛwɔ sɛ ɔsiesie Kɔmfanoche. Why? Because Nana Otumfoɔ ɛnyɛ any of the sika agye wo konfa no chi ni bi emfa nye hwe except say be a minim say be ono yare na so be kokokora it may be free for him probably only but other than that sika agye wo no ebibia enko ono tumfo ho aban agye sika every day and night 24 hours no ka be abegye wo konfa no chi no ekọ aban ho therefore mimi fi say one of the coin is Uncle Tumfo can call a bind out. He said you're calling the MPs out. And I say MPs from Ashanti region out from Mrefi on Mebuano. She says American say yes, or need a physical presence, but I mean it's proverbial in a way, you know. If you say San and Keso Tumfo and Mat Neye, say call the government out, I bind this and that Ashanti region ha out what they have to ebia miame okonfuanochi oh yeah miame nana or whatever you may call him enti ye pese so person onye vote to her right because they campaign omo de royalty it campaign mo pese mo nya vote ana me man for eto aba mo de a ene mo mra meye konfuanochi matumofo mo mfa mo nya election no two a me two ma man for no mo nya what they would like to do. That is one side of the coin. And in my opinion, no, say you can't say otumfo emfa emma ebia yamwa or confanocha. Me fi say it is the best way. Best way na say obe can say aban president and ne me no ko ebia me no ko confanochi send a high ni one my aba me ya me as ohne no miss me to my man for because how no mo yare obeji ayaresa therefore so one mama yeah me mama for actually simple if you say it's the best way the other way now too for a fire to be able to go ahead say oh buano it's another good way but the question is in so too for excuse me to say it's a charitable organization here or a charity or the $10 million not try a develop a friend is saying Confanoche. The question ask ourselves is or develop we are so you himself buying every rate or rent or pharmaceutical whatever for the rest of our buying life. What have we done? We have made our buying as useless as it's supposed to be. Because our buying will be benefiting from what he didn't put anything into. Meanwhile, you pay taxes and everything to our buying. On that basis, CCIM say your COVID your friends NHIS, Nina levy. COVID levy, NHIS. These are the questions you ought to ask the government. I'm if Uncle Tune for a be a make with you, I'm a mekan, about be anti. But Tune for Gina through the chairman of panel one. Ghana in Abe also. Hey, I'm pow, hey, beer. COVID levy, I had NHIS into the head there.
But do you think that if Otumvo can go on that tangent, could it not be said because Otumvo need to stay neutral from political way? When we say Levan says, I find the bus political party be bus on my own channel. There's no a political party buying or would be responsible. Don't you think that yeah, Otumvo the tone no, from say all share Reno because this sort of thing is very political. Don't forget in crisis, if it's a hospitals, new school, and sometimes it's memophone is say be a dime kakra na ya bind and call for upper. No ma be ya one teacher for mama abechu. Baby have a community name is school, even though it's a bind also but community no your no mobilize it. Now a man name man for no a year friends is any friends
Communal yes.
Don't you think that's a two force that or challenge who the government responsible? It doesn't matter which political party, but it will look as if Utumfo is going into politics.
Nana, that's a very interesting point. I don't think this is political at all. This you just putting your feet down and making leadership accountable to the people and not any politics. Nana, me says kaya na I at a point be them say it wasn't Mahama or one call Otum for But who was it or not the no catcher and I say maybe isn't an adult or one of them. That can make me real feel the exact point. Exact nipple but say or not the and one say all you be a man for and they will tell him what do you think that implies? Right? It is a tool for being political. I'm not saying it's supporting and I'm supporting it. It's just you making it straight on. This is what we have on our hands as a people of the Ashanti region. Yes, as an your friend is saying, Confanoche. Northerners, Southners, I'm not for fear Confanoche, depending on if you're no so with the right? Then, so then, if you say to the government, right, say, they are struggling. We need this. In fact, I was speaking to somebody who was telling me, he said the only place I am say, you can create an emergency because I see I'm see and chair. But I see other areas it's just bad. You see, Nana, the point to look at this and say, oh, too unfortunately political. You say no, chieftaincy shouldn't be political in Ghana, they should be political. But the point you have to look at is it is not you campaigning for a candidate, but it's about you facing the fact and making politicians know, say, the people in that community, the Ashantis, the Gans, the Avets, or whatever, no, they have representatives who are the MPs that go to parliament. But besides them, no, as a tribe or as a clan or as whatever, they also have leadership. And therefore, I am standing in the stead of my people and telling you, as government say, this needs to be done for my people, for their welfare. That is not political, in my view. That's how I see it.
Yo, where that's I don't know. So what we be at
No,
time check at the moment. It's here for is 47 minutes past the same time. I have been crying for something, but stories be on my mind. To me, I would like us to touch one story, protecting the kidney, liver, poison on bills and herbal medicines use on the rise. I think the same use of herbal medicines has become critical subject in the country in recent times in the wake of the rising cases of non-communicable diseases such as kidney and liver conditions. Now, okay, while some practitioners advertise a wide range of cures in both open and obscure corners of cities and towns, there is no certainty about their safety. They come as alternative choices to the orthodox prescription with affordable value and added edge hinge on the psychological acclaimed potency of the local medicine. The head of research and innovative at the Center of Plant Medicine Research, Dr. Kofi Domko, has said all herbal medicines, like any other form of medicine, are potential poisons. Um, he said the safety depends on whether they had been approved and then being taken according to the recommended doses. And said, I do really idea the story goes on and on and on and on. Now, commencing the majority of these with food and drug board. Meaning I Dana will be I have and then we see and cry and will be too much especially a estimate was in fact practice any week of time as I agree. Yen and I'm channel culture and I'm say or say I'll be to be for a moment because of your background. We should do not yeah cap. It's a cap, you say top cap, you say 500 it's a cap no piano. Na sisi ya neoma about now no you move on from video to see bottle and no call especially in Kumasi na communication centers and public announcers and then obi to be back in a drove out to say a rebel be sisi ya no food and drugs board the question you need your mention or purpose of it. Food and drugs where are they with and two, are we actually pushing herbal medicine aware now? Because say we had the running the and one of this who ya and another put in daily no to be over 90 years from with this out. And so when they hook of a herbal about one ya kept and they are not 9 as I already it was it. Where are we? Where do we draw the line? Saying herbal medicine, papa, and at the same time, the uncle fat, phobia, it's unfriendly.
Yeah, no, no. Let me say, when it comes to the issue of herbal medicine, like you said, no, I have used herbal medicine for a long time. It's not because I'm a toy or anything, but it was what my father was using for us. In fact, Nana Minimba, you be a friend, Yamibia, right? When I was a child, Minyanto broke measles. Seriously, if I nearly died, to be precise. And if you look at how that tree alone, then you petition, how my father managed today, I'm still, my father know my, on no son, but because of a drone, yeah, the Yamidria, yeah, yam smooth, near the frappet, you swap or the good and no program, so you might be, you won't believe it, but these are the things. These are sort of healing process of this. And the question asks yourself, those days, no, right? They were not for monetary purposes. Therefore, any herbal you being is somebody who truly need the value of it over years. And or they wow. Our modern herbal is will be real. You see the quantity, the only in our sawdust, not the afra, not the biafra, not the autumn as herbal medicine. And these are the challenges we are facing now. Realistically, the dosage at the end of yes, we don't get the exact dosage. But Nana, I'll tell you, my father to a great extent, paracetamol can come out. No. Or Namwa 1 week. In fact, when you were kids, myself when you were kids, every quarter, no, yeah, quarter, every quarter, my father will peg us. No, I'm not yes. I said to do a yes standard every quarter, 3 months. Asenti, ahapan, any or the for a few things or the frafra, and you run. I mean, you run proper. You know, you are talking of this kind of bush life or village life or whatever. Nana, what it is that they say these things at the time, not like I'm saying, no, they were using the real herbs. Me challenge and most is yeah, turn the brain no herbs no. In fact, some of these rocks near there from they just almost confine brofuno ibi no fra bibi keke just not yeah tongue in my opinion. Therefore, what we have, I don't think you have to do away with our herbs. But what I think is we have started some herbal medicine course at tech. Good. We said we have to rather enrich those kind of programs. Now, your friend is saying, Akropong school for whatever. Almost they are also into the herbal kind of thing. If we can able to empower these bodies to make sure that every single herb in the country, right, is properly licensed and monitored, right? But all in Sama for baby Afra and monitored properly, I'll tell you, Nana, most of our herbs are good.
Could it be so say the way the kind of preservative because it's say we not yeah a brew is Emma yeah you so bosome kora say we yeah draw or say we offer if you are make you for nana and also papa
Okote abana fresh, exactly. Yes.
my na way you send obey no na why yeah they am the base your man di na ochukra na
You are right.
is fresh. But a name, say be obia na mabel friends, Uber call on not your you go to because say maybe member may array now me call is baby the herbal clinic. It's like a hospital. Now quite no you're wrong easy. What's the key ingredients to grandpa Emma, Umukwan and how long is what kind of they preserve here. Two things are some of it. The thing is, who are we holding responsible for these sort of things?
Nana, we have to hold ourselves politically responsible. Why am I saying so? I'm saying so because there are two sides to the coin. There's the one who wants to make money out of it at all costs. And there is the other side who is the government who has to be responsible to control because we are human, right? Nana, yet I'm out for cocaine. Eton we, right? Those is here say we, yeah, say we are liberalized to some extent, but they are still not acceptable in certain quantities or whatever. So there's a side of the government that's of control. How can the government control? Government control itself is making the medical, herbal medicine, whatever. Where they have to research properly. If say okay, preservatives, they need more. Let's see, do this medication does it accept preservatives? Say yes, sir. You pure, you pay the expiry date. Say one we pay the between keep to president best arena. We have to get it that way. And say yeah, enforce those laws. And this will come from the government side, right? Yeah, maybe you create an agency or something that's supervising these things. So we are going to get our way around and be able to depend on our health. Maybe going for a great year, no be or one shot. Because you better pet the herbal replica and we are better in terms of health because it be any side effects. Now, let's compare that with you come here with say Chinese. Where do they read from? It's just the herbs. Now, we come on and formalizing. Therefore, the whole world has accepted it now, right? Yeah, turn high street, will chrome her, right? Chrome her and my own Tommy Beast. I say, yeah, check it on say, no, my okay, yeah, they don't to me any because they won't crack. It means say, Yana Sadana, we are going to go positive. And my view is we have been criminalizing herbs in Ghana by virtue of the turn, right? Because quite a fast turn. And I make so that's no be a cosa. Not the good be doing. I'll say way ahead. Quite yam say and yet a drew and yet she are those who know what it is really. My father lived for 103 years, and my father lived in Accra and started taking a beer, parania day, somewhere in his 90s and over, right? Yes, what's what? Oh, now you are no answer. Well, you call 20, we have been to buy, and what one was a bunch of you know these things. These are the issues, right? A champion, there are a lot of things we have used, right? I won't say the fact say yeah we are selling and no yeah baby no maybe we say Nana, some of them don't have real side effects. I'll be frank with you compared to the Western medication. Nana, the name said the white man will tell you nkurɔfoɔ more medicine women say paracetamol common penefa nkurɔfoɔ like more medicine they don't like that's fine. These are the issues but yeah no you to be farmed a para and a pair anymore yeah what para to have and a pair anymore yeah man of them will be aha another school of thought well it's that's what it is.
I mean, this year over Ghana, a lot of communicable diseases, non-communicable diseases, is on the ascendancy. Before we never used to know only and but this year, diagnosing, but you can really tell there. This year, a lot of kidneys anyway, adults. First man, sorry, is Gafoya is a Profoyare. Yes, as to know, herbal medicine, is this from this report? Yes, see, a no brain. I call it Sanya
Oh.
man. Uji, people, Diana.
No, I wanted to. That's the question I wanted to ask you. What is the scientific basis for the? To be honest, I haven't read because the point is, with the kidney issues, the organ, and for me, I would be interested to know the real data that supports the argument either for because we know there is a big problem now. Part of the problem is not only because there is an issue of kidney failure, but I think that the biggest challenge that it is in the country is there is an issue of the facilities that are needed for people that supposedly having issues with their kidney, and we don't seem to have the medical interventions, that are needed for that. So I think it looks like the debate is being shifted now
Can I
into
read a portion to
your
you?
right.
This is the specialist position. I'll say the consultant physicians and kidney specialists at the Department of Kolibu Hospital, teaching hospital, Dr. Winfred, said people were missing concussions for people to take without any scientific basis.
Yeah,
But young guys have no scientific basis. Yeah,
yeah.
but no, people are just missing compulsion in the name of preparing herbal medicine and deceiving people that herbs do not have or have any minimal side or do not have or have just minimal side effect. He stated. He said cases of kidney diseases were increasing, particularly among the younger generations. Oh, before this, every.
Which one to us if you're right. So the point I was making, and I said, the argument with these sort of debates and arguments about whether the premise of the big like I said, antecedents and consequences of a kidney problem and kidney failures, even in the Western world, is there. It happens, you know, and it happens. There is a lot of big causes for that. The situation in Ghana where we are having kidney failures now, I want to see the report which that suggests that it is mainly because if compare what is go, the hearsay part of argument can be done by anyone. Could be able to make a say because of the apps. For no, which I'm not denying. Say if you have the wrong combination of dosage, now it can definitely affect you. But the point I want, because I want to see a debate or a report which does go to suggest say it is definitely an issue regarding herbal medicine, which is actually bringing about these cases of increase in kidney. But you see, the biggest challenge, and as I was saying, is this: we are having problem with the facilities that are needed to bring about this sort of intervention when people have kidney failures. You go and sit on dialysis, and the amount that they will charge you for dialysis now in safe. I hear it's ranging between 500 Ghana to 500 to 800 Ghana
A
per
day, yeah,
session,
that's just, yeah.
and for the average Ghanaian who is having kidney failure will not be able to sustain this. It's definitely not possible. So people are dying. It's not because there's an increase of kidney in terms of uh, the problem that people are dying because there is the intervention that is needed to protect to stop people from dying is in a way is
Okay.
eluding a lot of people. So this debate it becomes very lazy when you just make the conclusion as if say because kidney diarrhea in the whole world it happens everywhere. Well, but I am just thinking, say, I think we're shifting where the argument should be. We're shifting where the debate should be. And that, for my view, the debate should be around the issue regarding whether the medication, I mean, the facilities that are needed for that, whether those facilities are there. And if they're not there now, we're going to continue having people perhaps, dying from it. But back to the issue about herbal medicine. I think they actually touched on a lot of the things that I wanted to touch on in terms of. I don't think it helps in itself. Is where the problem is. With the right dosage and the right knowledge of what needs to be mixed and what needs to have. It is something that say traditional medicine it complements what the Western medicine always does. So for that view, I think that we know that it's not much of a problem. But the issue we got the wayside where people are not being regulated. I know the standard board actually there's now an agency which deals with there's a traditional
That's a
uh,
profound school of something, something.
they
That's
I
a
mean there's
profound.
the licensing is granted to people to be able to go into that and facilities are inspected and there's dosage now on traditional so there are traditional medicines that have been approved so to speak to be allowed, to use for whatever ailment. So maybe the problem should be we can look at two things: the regulation of it and the enforcement of the regulation as to whether these things are actually being followed through. And those people that are on the wayside that are, perhaps not, you need the law to deal with those things. But I haven't seen the case for uh, the argument that is being made. And it could be true. Say, the concussion might be leading to it, but there is no data to really support this sort of argument, except people are saying like a hearsay. It would be nice if the doctor actually can give us something very, to hold on to. Because it's in the medical field,
Scientific, yeah.
scientifically, say out of 1,000 patients that have kidney failures, the investigation or the evidence suggests a large number of them, the failure is as a result of, these sort of abuse that we have here. But to just blanketly say that now is very difficult to, kind of hold the arguments.
It's here for yeah, Bruno. I be and Casabria time check at the moment is 6 minutes past 7. Is it higher than the committee and I see but before say about Conoma my video for Ubia 1 50 seconds now day. The last words at my Timami start to muscle and your last words.
No, no, I am say, maybe I'll pick on this last subject by a year, a herbal medicine. See, Nana, my engine is the BI because before. No, your normal pebia. I say, ye school for an aunt of 4 o'clock, see, and I wouldn't be a walk. A shame no more boy to make a scientific decision. Yɛbɛtumi aka sɛ wei ne wei nti na yɛreka sɛ ɛnkɔ ne saa. Na sɛ yɛbɛka sɛ da bi yɛbɛsɛ ɔkeka ne yɛbɛka sɛ ebi a bibiduro a yɛnom na ɛyɛ adeɛ no a menyi di sɛ ɛyɛ saa. Sɛ yɛtumi nso ɛmfɔ sɛ ne same yɛka no a, na sɛ yɛhwɛ no yie sɛ neɛ yɛde kɔɔɛ ma yɛlicense yɛ no saa na da bi yɛyɛ no, ɛsɛ yɛta ɛkyɛke along the line. Yi sɛ ɛyɛ no saa a, yɛ bibiduro no should stay with us.
Yeah, I think that just endorsing, actually, I can, yeah.
It's here for here the day within see na kind of say after this program me you if we have right from this time inspirational hour the in summer in which you at the Babetwell. So that's a net at once to make media and Nana Hemma. Have a good evening.